I'm Steven, I'm account director at the ABA Group. We've been helping not-for-profits for about a little over 18 years now, helping achieve their goals digitally. And
Hi, I'm Shai Rose, and I'm the donor acquisition manager at UNHCR Canada, and I've been there for 5 years, and we've been working with the ABA Group for about 3 years right now.
3 years? Well, yeah, I guess 3 years now. So I guess today we're going to be talking about decoding donor dynamics, understanding and growing the value beyond the transaction. We're going to cover a lot today and just kind of scratch the surface of a lot of really important topics. We'll start with harnessing the power of your data, maximizing that donor value and understanding it, and then driving sustainable growth in the long term. So first, we'll start with harnessing the power of that reliable first-party data. I want to talk to you about improving the effectiveness of your acquisition strategies by understanding your audience and making sure that you know who they are exactly digitally, where they interact with your business and your brand. So to start, what is first-party data? I know actually everybody in this room probably knows the answer to this, but just to start, we'll talk about a definition. So first-party data is any data that's collected directly from your donor supporters, so that are giving directly to you into your organization, so that you know and you have you can use that data to target them. So this data for me as a digital advertiser is incredibly crucial for personalizing engagement, targeted outreach, your campaign strategies, and enhancing that donor experience. And then examples that we've talked about today are, of course, previous donors, engaged supporters, but also like causes that brought them onto your file originally, as well as the acquisition channel and any communication preferences, for example. So why does this matter? Of course, one, improving those campaign results. I can see it over here. I can't read this. So yeah, run more effective campaigns with the improved targeting and segmentation. On my side, I'm constantly looking at this data. I rely on this to optimize our campaigns, not only for me, but also the machine learning algorithms that we use on a daily basis. Personalizing that engagement, so tailoring your campaigns and communication strategies based on your audience's past interactions and preferences, and then enhancing that donor experiences. Communicate with them the way they expect to be communicated to, deliver that relevant content that they signed on for, and fostering those stronger long-term donor relationships. And then with all of this, we can use this and be more specific in our approach and gain actionable insights that we can use to further develop and improve our campaigns. As we move in towards this cookieless world, we're going to rely more and more on these first-party data. Online, more and more users are harder to identify as they move across the web, and so we're going to rely on your data more often to feed into our programs. We can't rely as much on those third-party data sources as we used to, and the campaigns that we've been running in the last few years have been so dependent on Google and Facebook and these walled gardens that as privacy continues to be an issue online, we'll need to continue to expand your data and utilize that. So to give examples of how we've been doing this.
So we've done 2 different campaigns recently where there were retargeting campaigns that we did with the ABA Group. And so the first one was our 2-year lapsed donors. So it's people that we know haven't given to us for 2 years. And we wanted to have really different creative for them, right? Like you can't just be doing an acquisition ask for them. So it was a creative that was like thanking our donors, talking about the impact. What have we been able to do with the last over a year? And so it was using that creative to try to gain back existing donors who had given to us in the past, and not using creepy language like want to give again. Don't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just, I think putting it out there is a good way, just a reminder of people. And then we also did, on the right-hand side, it's like our winter campaign. So at the beginning of the year, we do a big winter campaign on pretty much all our channels and a big direct mail push. And so this was like the image that was used from it. So there was like kind of a follow-through of, and we uploaded the list of people who received our package in the mail. And our ROI was over 3 for this. So like the return was really high. And it's just kind of reminding you too that you don't need to just, I'm acquisition, so I do fight this sometimes, but like you do need to spend some money on your retention audience on digital. It's a great way to re-engage them, and it's quite cheap.
So some best practices for collecting data. the first and foremost is definitely obtaining consent. And these rules continue to change and will continue to change. So you want to be sure that you're compliant with the data that you're using and how you're using it, and you know explicitly that you're allowed to. Like recently, the rules changed around Quebec and what we can do with them. So you want to be sure that when you're collecting data, you know exactly going forward in a future-proof way that you can continue to use this data. One thing I want to specifically mention is offer a value exchange. We talked a lot this week at this conference of different ways you can do it with the cookbook, with the personality test. But this is going to be your first transaction with your user, whether or not they're actually donating. So you want to incentivize your potential donors on why they should be selling or giving their data over to you. So you want to give them something in return. Make sure that they know why they're going to give you their email, their phone number, or their address. And then with this, continue to analyze and iterate. Continue to segment your data and audiences and test and test and test.
So maximizing donor lifetime value. So don't think of it in the basic terms as they're a monthly donor, they're a no TG donor, put them in buckets like that. There's other ways of thinking of it. Think of this as the start of your relationship. They might have come to you because family told them, friends told tell them about you, or realistically, they swiped right on you. And now you're here at the end of the first date with an awkward song and dance of who pays. So this is where you can make or break your relationship. And what you do now sets the tone of what your relationship is going to be with this person and could potentially get you ghosted. So think if they gave you your phone number, that's a good sign. They want to talk to you and they want to communicate with you in different ways. And then also, but now that you've just started this relationship, how do you thank them, right? Like you need to be polite. You need to send a thank you email, thank you text. You have to say, it was lovely meeting you. Where am I going with this? And then keep it short and simple. That was the point. Always keep it short and simple, but like make sure you text them within a day or two. It's rude if you don't. So say thank you, follow up, and then leave the ball in their court to tell you when they want to get in touch with you again.
We love our dating analogies up here.
And then donor lifetime value. So this is about how many dates you can get in. I'm gonna do it for one more slide and then I'm gonna drop it. So this is a relationship should be two-sided and not one person asking the other person. It shouldn't just be one-sided. I'm always asking you out. I'm always doing this. Let them communicate with you and you communicate with them. So it's a little bit of a two-way going street because otherwise you're gonna have a lot of resentment and fatigue because we all know that. And then also you can't be expecting a bigger and bigger gift every time you see them. That's probably something that we as marketers or fundraisers want to do. It's always, let's ask them for something else. And that's not polite in the real world. So think about it in the donation world too, or your fundraising world. You shouldn't be asking for a gift all the time and expecting a bigger gift. Some people's love language is gift giving, but maybe let's not judge them on that.
Yeah. So more specifically, donor lifetime value is the length of the donor relationship multiplied by the value of each donation and the giving frequency. The easiest way that we all understand this is the monthly donor. They have their monthly donor value. They're on per month and how often. But that's not the only way that we're seeing it and we're looking at it. There are like one-time donors that give frequently as well as on top of their monthly gift as well. And what we're seeing is donor lifetime is declining, and this might be a sign of the donor behavior changing. This might be the sign of the economic times, but people are just staying on file. Recurring donors staying on file is declining, and that just raises the importance of different ways of interacting with your consumers and your donors, and making sure that the one-time gifts and the different ways that they interact continues to be more and more important.
Okay, so there's some different factors that are impacting lifetime value. And so one of them is the giving level. And so that's just the donation ask. And so these are like some basic things of even when the first time the donor gives to you, are they actually, like, what's the ask amount Are you testing your donation pages? Are you playing around with the ask level? You can do things of like you ask in reverse order or you ask higher numbers. Sometimes just putting $5 extra, there you go. Every month you're getting $5 more. So it's kind of just like, what is that initial ask that you're doing? And for channel acquired, there's different channels, obviously, and offline and online, there's like a debate of where, which one gets more money, which one has a longer lifetime value. But like things like search, that's a digital channel, but we know people that come through search have a really high intent and they're going to actually give you at a higher rate. So it's looking at the channel that the person has come through and seeing, okay, what kind of strategy can we do because they came through X channel? And then the demographics, and this is becoming harder and harder, as Stephen said, with just a lot of the data. But you can still figure out some things about them. You know their city, you know their postal code. You can do some little bit more research into that to kind of see the clusters of where these people are coming from. But then you can also do quizzes and you can ask donors about their demographics so that you can figure out how you kind of want to remarket them, or you share it with the agency so they can help find you more audiences like that. Or you can say, we want to diversify our audience. This is what our current audience is, and we need to find X. So let's try to find X.
So yeah, what's really important is establishing benchmarks for your different segments, your first-party data, and your channels, so you know where you begin and your baseline, so that you can understand your donors, your data, and confidently test new strategies and know where you're improving and what's not working for you, so you can iterate, improve, and continue to learn. What we're seeing is recurring donors who do give to you do want to interact with your business again. They're going to give another gift annually. They're going to register for your events and purchase other things on your store. So find other ways to activate and to continue to reach out to your strongest supporters.
So you also want to drive sustainable growth. You need to be thinking of your donors in the different kind of relationships that you have with them. So let's not talk about dating, but let's talk about parents. Let's talk about friends. Let's talk about our neighbors. You have different relationships with all these different groups of people. You're the same person, so you need to stay on brand when you're talking to them, but you're not talking to them in the exact same way. So you're communicating them with them a little differently. You know their communication style. Like your parents prefer a call. They don't want a text, but maybe your sister wants a text and doesn't want to talk to you. So there's different things that you do, and you know those communication preferences. She's gonna kill me if I told her that. But and then also. So you need to be thinking about that. So, and then also just the relationship and the effort that you're going to put into it, right? We all put different efforts into our different relationships in our lives. So you need to figure out as an organization, which are the ones that you want to focus on, because realistically, I don't think any of us have the capacity to work on all of them right now. So it's like, let's pick the few that we're going to do, and we're going to do it well. Okay. Why do your donors give to you? Have you asked them, and are you listening? So to me, this is something that I think, and I blame us as well. We have a welcome survey. We have a welcome quit survey when people, and they tell us information, but are we actually going into the database and looking at what they told us? They're contacting our donor care. Our donor care team does join our weekly meetings, so they tell us this is what donors have been telling us. So it's kind of like talking to your different teams and making sure that are you actually listening to what donors are telling you. So don't just ask information. Don't be like, oh, let's send another quiz now, or let's send another survey just to get more information. You can do that if you're actually going to do something with them. But if you haven't been listening to them and you haven't just scoured your database to see these are kind of questions we've asked in the past, they might provide you the answers right now. How are you welcoming donors? So how quickly are you thanking them? Are you thanking them? I hope you are. And is it a multi-touch journey? Just because they gave to you via digital channels, that you don't think them that way, right? People are human, so they do things in multiple ways. They use multiple channels, so you should be trying to thank them with a welcome package in the mail. You should send them an email. You can send them a text, but don't do it all at once. But kind of think of the strategy of what you want to do. So a lot of it is like the planning process of it. If you're going to start a campaign, you're going to start something. Just think about what is now we got the gift, what are we going to do with it? And so having that journey mapped out beforehand is really important. Then just I put some examples in of what we're doing. And so this is our welcome direct mail package. And so what we did a big refresh of it after the Ukraine emergency because we found that we had a lot of new donors who knew nothing about us. They gave to us because they knew we were working in Ukraine, but who's UNHCR? What are the different areas of the world that we work in? They didn't know that. So we kind of used this opportunity to okay, let's take a step back and maybe educate. These people have now come to us and we want them to know that we work in other areas of the world. And so it was used as an educational opportunity, a storytelling opportunity. And then we kind of have different components like a buck slip in there too, just to try to get a monthly ask if we can. And then our welcome email as well. So it is a 5-part email journey. And it includes from our rep, Rima, who kind of welcomes the donors. There's a video from her thanking donors. So it's kind of even letting them know, Rima is going to be communicating with you soon. And so just introducing her. There's a quiz, there's a survey, and there's just stewardship stories there to kind of welcome people on board. So it's a nice kind of touch that we do. And people who are in this welcome journey, you stay in this journey until they're done, and then they start getting our appeal. So while they're in the welcome journey, they're taken out of the appeal structure. What is your stewardship strategy? So these are just questions that we're going to probably just pose to all of you of, what value are offering? What is your stewardship strategy multi-channel? So this is what I talked about before. Are you communicating in multiple different ways? And just making sure that you're thinking about that.
What is your upgrade strategy? How often are you asking? When do you ask after the donation? How frequently? What are you upgrading them to? If you have your data linked up, we could set up a way in which we know what their original donation was to get the right upgrade amount based off of a percentage of what they're already on file for. On our side, we're negatively targeting donors after their donation to make sure we're not asking too frequently and too soon after the last donation. Fix your leaky bucket. So the cost to reacquire or reactivate a donor is obviously so much lower than acquiring a new one. So your total file, your revenue is going to look much better if you're retaining those donors and keeping them in the bucket and not letting them lapse.
And then just to add 2 examples of what we're doing. So we kind of looked at our data. So it's another thing, just look at your data and see where the kind of the leaky buckets are. For one of them was credit card expiry. So we use actually the Engaging Networks feature where we warn people that their credit card's about to expire. And we're can you please update your information? And so the amount of people, by doing such a basic email, it's not a lot of work to get that set up. The amount of people who don't now leave us because we missed a very low hanging fruit. And that also helps our donor care team so that they don't have to worry about doing that after, right? So it's a lot of things of let's try to fix things before it gets a little bit bad.
Before it becomes a problem.
Yeah, thank you. And also the 4-month postcard. So it's something our direct mail team and Krima does for us. And so she kind of noticed that at the 4-month mark, a lot of monthly donors were starting to drop off. And so now there is a postcard that goes in the mail to them, and it's just as a thank you, and it's just a reminder we exist, and that has significantly helped stop the 4-month attrition. So it's things like that you can do that are small little wins.
So just wrapping up some key takeaways. First, harness your data, segment your donor, and tailor your communications, and leverage your data and analytics to resonate with those donor segments.
Maximize your donor lifetime value. So really think about the relationships here. This is something that you really want to work on. And just, it's a strategy of whatever your team is doing. It's something that you guys should talk about and think about of what are we going to be doing to try to keep these donors, and kind of agree upon it as a team. And then drive sustainable growth. Make sure you're really cultivating these relationships. And then the last like corniness I'll say is like relationships with our partners. And so kind of cultivate those and make sure the people that you're working with and your like colleagues, right? Like I think that was something that came up yesterday too, where teams who are working together more collaboratively as their teams do so much better. So it's like, don't work in silos, really try to meet with your different, like your major gifts team, your donor care team, like try to meet with them and kind of work through problems together.
And that's it.
Yeah, thanks. Sure.
Test 1, 2.
All right. Thank you so much. That was great. We have a lot of questions here that we're going to work through. The first question, how long do you wait to ask a new donor to give again?
It depends. If they're an OTG donor, we technically we ask them in their welcome journey. At the end of the welcome journey is what they get asked for the first time. And then if they're a monthly donor, I want to say it's 6. Like they get put into some of our appeals, but then within the first year, we kind of try to keep it like a little bit low key, and it's more emergencies that we ask them for. We're more cautious of what we do when we ask them. But then we make sure we were starting to take them out of a lot of our email appeals, like our monthly donors, and we realized that wasn't a good thing to do because they weren't getting communicated with. So we're like, we can send them these and just don't ask them for money.
Right.
That could be it.
Yeah, and that kind of touches on the next question. Would you recommend including monthly donors in all of your fundraising asks throughout the year?
I would say it really depends on the frequency in which you're having these campaigns and these touch points with your consumer. So I would not say all. There's definitely better times of the year, obviously year end. But yeah, just like monitoring the frequency and seeing that drop off rate and continuing to iterate. It depends on the client and the ask, of course, right, and the timing.
Right.
And I would just say for like our monthly donors, we find that when we have emergencies, our monthly donor segment is the biggest segment that gives. So like it's being, tactful of when you're asking them and why you're asking them. So I think that's like the best time to be doing it.
Cool. Great. And then when, I guess, if ever, do you give up on a prospect or like an acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, like we'll have people on file for a certain amount of time, and if they haven't activated, they will continue to be in our retargeting pool, and we have those dated based off of when they came on that file. So once they age out, right? Depending on the campaign and the ask.
Cool. Yeah, and I know you touched on marketing automation as like a channel or something in Engaging Networks that you utilize. Are you using any other like channels or comm preferences to connect with donors, like for SMS, for example?
Yeah, so we definitely use SMS and phone, like the telemarketing is quite a big aspect of it as well. Yeah.
Great.
And there's more than 9, 12 direct mail pushes a year. so and they're different. Like some of them are stewardship, some of them are impact, so they're not all appeal kind of things. But we have 12 different like really big campaigns that go out throughout the year.
Great. And then what metrics in Engaging Networks should you look at to track the metric that you outlined, donor lifetime value? What do you typically use there?
You want to take this?
I wouldn't look at one metric alone kind of thing. It's using the Engaging Networks data to put into your database, like with all your other data, right? Because Engaging Networks isn't the only place that's hosting everything.
Right.
So yeah.
Great. Have you used next suggested gift or conditional page content to try to increase donation amounts?
Yes. Sorry, we forgot to mention that. We definitely do use that, and it works for a lot of our like house mailing campaigns when we do that. Mm-hmm. And so it's really helping with like nudging the gift up, kind of. Mm-hmm. It's also again it's a pretty easy feature, so it's something that I think is really like kind of easy for you to do, and like in the email too, it does conditional content too, so it pulls their like gift and then says that gift amount. So it's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And you mentioned that you will tailor your strategy around the acquisition channel. Would you be able to expand on that a little bit more? Like, how did you build the strategies around each of the acquisition channels?
Yeah, we try to it's more of just like some of the welcome journeys that we have, it's kind of bucketing people into like this was their source, and so now put them into a different type of welcome journey. And then it's also sending like it's sometimes it's adding extra things in, like should we be doing SMS? Should we be doing like it's kind of adding and taking away.
Also, like to the cause in which they had kind of came on file is also really important to how we reach out to them again.
Right. Cool. And then I think the last question here, your welcome journey is 5 emails. How often, or the timeline for those 5 emails? And what are your unsubscribe rates like?
Yeah. They're all like a week apart. So we send them weekly for 5 weeks. And our unsubscribe rates are actually quite low. Like for the welcome, I think we're at 0.10 or something like that. So they're not bad. Like people are staying on file once we do that, and it's once we start sending the appeals that they might start dropping off. But then it's like that initial, like even someone said too, like the unsubscribes are good to have. So it's like the initial they have it, but then the rest of the time it's once we've kept them, I think.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.